All we need is a place to stay, a place to call home.
He was a selfless martyr on a quest to save his people. So how did Byron become one of the most hated characters in Babylon 5? Let me tell you the story of the Telepath Colony, and why this plotline just didn't work.
Put your hand on the book and say, I do.
I do.
Fine, done. Let's eat.
The start of Babylon 5's final season saw the formation of the Interstellar Alliance, led by now President John Sheridan. It wasn't long before he faced his first big decision.
So what do you want?
A place to call home.
A group of rogue telepaths show up on the station seeking sanctuary. They're fleeing from Earth jurisdiction, where telepaths face huge restrictions on their freedoms. Now, the plight of telepaths is one of B5's best long-running plot threads. In a nutshell, Earth has this small population of telepaths. People fear and mistrust them for obvious reasons. They're afraid of their privacy being violated and their darkest secrets revealed. On the flip side, telepaths fear the non-telepaths, again for obvious reasons. As a tiny minority, they could easily be wiped out if the public mood shifted against them. So, Earth set up the Psi Corps. They ensure telepaths follow tough rules and restrictions in order to put other people at ease.
When they discover what you are, they give you 3 choices. You can either join the Psi Corps, or go to prison, or agree to take certain drugs for the rest of your life. Drugs that inhibit your telepathic abilities.
That's the law.
It's one of B5's most fascinating moral quandaries. Telepaths are oppressed, but the alternative might leave them free to violate people's minds. The Psi Corps' rules are enforced by the dreaded Psy-Cops, its very own jackbooted Gestapo. And this is what these rogue telepaths are running from. They want their own colony on B5, to live free from Psi Corps regulations. Captain Lockley turns them down.
No!
But after a young telepath saves Sheridan's life, he overrules her.
See, our arrangement is that I handle any political decisions that affect the Alliance in Babylon 5. I'm putting this decision in that category. You have my authority to start a colony here.
But now there's a ticking clock to confrontation. Eventually, the Psy-Cops will come, and Sheridan will have to deal with the consequences. It's a really good setup. So why didn't it work? Well, a lot of it was down to Byron, the leader of the telepaths. On paper, he's a really admirable character. He's a pacifist. He's an intense man of conviction, a leader to his people.
We want to put out the word to others of our kind. Have them gather here in safety.
He's selfless.
What are they?
Vitamins.
They should go to the children.
They're too strong for children.
Then they should go to the sick.
And characters we like tell us how great he is.
Byron is a sweet, charming, sympathetic man who's trying to create a better world.
But that's not how he comes across on screen.
How many angels can dance on the head of a pin? As many as want to.
Byron is insufferable.
I slept full measure enough to sustain me through 5 eternities.
When he's meant to be romantic and profound, he sounds pretentious.
A willow. Its delicate branches touching my face like tears.
He's also really condescending.
If there was a straight answer buried in there somewhere, I sure as hell didn't see it.
It was a parable.
He delivers self-righteous moral lectures, talking down to well-established characters who we know are good people.
I didn't need to scan you, Mr. Garibaldi. And even if I did, since you were here to ask us to do the same to others on your behalf, you do not exactly have the moral high ground to complain, now do you?
Then there's his followers. They were probably going for something akin to a hippie commune here. They do sing-alongs, they don't like following rules, they're intimate with each other in communal spaces, but the whole vibe isn't quite fun-loving hippies. It's difficult to define when something is a cult, but you know it when you see it, and Byron's colony really feels like a creepy cult. They cut themselves off from everybody else, they all dress the same, it's built around the personality of a charismatic jerk. A lot of them even dress up kinda like Byron and style their hair like him, which he apparently is fine with. There's a disconnect. The framing and the musical cues tell us these guys are nice, but they don't come off that way.
I'm caught in a web of my own good intentions.
Then there's Sheridan. The plot requires him to be this total dummy. He lets these guys stay, and he knows there'll be this inevitable clash with Earth and the Psi Corps. And for the next several months, he does nothing. When eventually the Psi Corps show up to arrest all the telepaths, he's finally forced to take action.
Yeah, if I contravene our policies for my own convenience, it'll give our enemies something to point to and say we're hypocrites. If I violate my promise to the telepaths, our enemies will latch onto that just as well.
And his solution is to tell Lockley to deal with it somehow.
He can't have them, Captain. I won't allow it.
Well, at least give me a reason to say no, other than I don't want to, and I'll stick him on the next transport out of town.
I gave them my word.
Well, that may not be enough.
Find a way to make it enough.
I guess it's suddenly not his problem anymore.
Help me, please!
One by one, the Psi Corps nabble the telepaths. But Lockley comes up with a last-minute excuse to stop them being extradited.
Earth Alliance medical routine number 725 IT7. Dr. Franklin just hit me with the paperwork a couple hours ago. No interstellar traveler who has been in unknown space shall be allowed within the borders of Earth control space until after a 60-day quarantine period.
They're safe for now, but once again, the clock is ticking.
Come back in 60 days and they're all yours.
So, what will Sheridan come up with to solve the problem? The answer is nothing. He just goes back to sitting on his ass. Now, part of the story of Season 5 is all the characters transitioning to new roles. Sheridan isn't as sure-footed in politics as he was with military matters. But to see him blunder into a crisis like this, giving no thought to how this telepath colony is sustainable, being utterly passive as time slips away from him.
Now get the hell out of our galaxy! Both of you!
This isn't the great leader, the tactician, the man of action who we got to know the past 4 seasons.
5 lifetimes ago, you said I was your Willow.
It's here when the story takes a very abrupt turn. The whole previous dilemma is suddenly cast aside. The decision is taken out of Sheridan's hands. Byron learns from Lita that telepaths were created by aliens through genetic manipulation long ago. They were bred by Vorlons to be weapons in their endless war against the shadows. Byron's goals now suddenly change.
We belong to no one. We have been caged, pursued, and forced into a kind of slave labor.
He doesn't want an enclave on Babylon 5 anymore. He wants a planet to colonize. And instead of just asking Sheridan, he sends his followers to steal secrets from all the ambassadors and tries to blackmail the interstellar community into getting what he wants.
And all your secrets will be revealed.
The story is now totally off the rails. The best part up to now was the dilemma Sheridan faced. Helping oppressed people versus respecting the jurisdiction and sovereignty of the member worlds in his fledgling alliance. But now, none of that matters anymore. The telepaths have suddenly alienated everyone and barricaded themselves in Down Below. A big, complicated moral and political issue is now boiled down to a challenging security situation. Ultimately, the Psychops show up again. Tensions reach a head, and Byron and his more militant followers martyr themselves. Now, hovering over this whole story was also the little matter of unmet expectations. Babylon 5 was constantly teasing a telepath war, a showdown between the telepaths and the normals.
We both know a telepath war's coming one of these days.
This reached a fever pitch in Season 4, where they were bringing it up constantly.
Someday there's gonna be a war between telepaths and mundane, Stephen. I just hope I don't live to see it.
And then you'll start a war between the telepaths and normals. And in the end, Mr. Bester, you will lose.
We'll see.
And the audience rightly expected it to happen in the final season. But then it doesn't happen. Instead, we get this story about Byron and the Telepath Colony. In the aftermath, Lita vows to carry on Byron's legacy.
Remember Byron.
But rather than pursue the pacifism he died for, she's going to launch a terrorist campaign against the Psi Corps. She recruits Garibaldi to build an army, and the stage is set for the long-awaited telepath war.
I'll check back with you after 2 years.
That's right, 2 years from now, after the end of the show. So why was this whole thing such a mess? Part of it was that a spin-off show was in the works. Crusade was going to be set 5 years later. The Telepath War would have served as an important part of the show's prehistory, just like the Minbari War did for Babylon 5. We'd have got the full story eventually in the form of flashbacks or a TV movie, if Crusade hadn't got cancelled after just 1 season. But there were also major difficulties with Season 5 right from the get-go. Babylon 5 was supposed to be a 5-season arc, but when renewal for Season 5 was in doubt, they wrapped up a lot of plot lines early. The biggest was the Earth Civil War. This was meant to carry on into a good chunk of Season 5. Had it done so, it would have made much more sense for Sheridan to give these telepaths sanctuary, while Babylon 5 was an independent state or at war with Earth Force. It would have been a good idea at the time that gained them useful allies, only to become a problem once the war was over. The premature end of the Civil War story also forced this telepath plot to carry the show. It was the main storyline for the first half of Season 5, but it would have worked a lot better as a side story that occasionally moved into the spotlight. Another blow was the loss of Ivanova. Actress Claudia Christian abruptly left the show at the end of Season 4, and a lot of the story had been laid out with her character in mind. Ivanova was a latent telepath who hated the Psi Corps. She would have got involved with Byron along with Lita, while at the same time acting as station commander. As it worked out, her planned role in this was divided between Lockley and Lita, but her involvement would have built on existing storylines and character work a lot better, and been a lot more satisfying. But what do you think? Did Byron and the Telepath Colony deserve center stage? Could Sheridan have handled things differently? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, I'll be seeing you.